everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome to my channel. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe and make sure to turn on your bell notifications and like this video. It helps me so much. I'm trying to grow my channel, so every subscriber counts, every like counts, so please make sure to do that. I have a lot of really fun content coming up for you all, and if you haven't already, make sure to check out my Instagram where I post a lot of my day-to-day stuff and also let you all know when I've posted on my YouTube channel. So today's conversation is something that I personally love talking about, and that is a conversation all about friendships. Now, I want to say early on that I'm definitely not an expert on friendships. I've had my fair share of mistakes and my fair share of friend breakups and toxic friendships and high maintenance friendships, but I think that throughout the years I've gotten better at choosing good friends, and not only that, but sustaining friendships that I personally think are well worth it. So I've asked you all on my Instagram, and if you don't follow me, make sure to follow me at It's Amal World. I asked you all on my Instagram to send me all of your friendship questions, and I will be answering a few of those today. First of all, I want to say that you all asked the best questions, honestly, like things that I've just not even really thought about. So first of all, thank you all so much for doing that. I appreciate you all. So let's get to the first question. The first question is, have you always had a tight group of friends as it appears now? So this question was something that I received kind of a lot in terms of like the friends that I do post or through my vlogs, the friendships that I have and that I showcase. But I think kind of like a side point to this, girl groups and like friend groups and cliques are great and amazing, but I think that that's not the only way friendships look like, if that makes sense. I think it's cool to have friends that you're like always taking pictures with and maybe go on trips with, and those are amazing and so fulfilling, and I am so thankful for the groups of friends I have had like that. But I think that it's also important to know that just because your friendships don't necessarily look Instagrammable doesn't mean they're any less worthy or any less deep. I think especially in like the social media age, there's just so much pressure on like how to showcase your friendships and not as much emphasis on how to grow and deepen those friendships. So I think that like just because someone isn't showing all of their friends online doesn't mean they don't have any, or they don't have like good close friendships, or the people they don't show are just as close as the people they do show on their social media feed. And answering the question specifically, no, I really, for most of my life, I think I haven't had like a group of friends, quote unquote. I've always been the type of person that like jumps from group to group, and because of that, I never felt like I had like a group. I definitely had friends that I hung out with more often than others, but in terms of like being a part of a clique or group, I never felt that way. Friendships come in a lot of different varieties, and just because you're not like in a group or a clique doesn't necessarily mean that your friendships are not valid. Next question is so cute. It's how soon before you can call someone your bestie? I think that's such an adorable question. I was always one of those people, like when I was younger, that I felt like it was mean to like have someone as my best friend, because I always felt like that was just like, you know, really exclusionary, like leaving out the other people. Friendships are kind of like, you know, falling in love. They are falling in love. They're falling in love in a different way. So I think sometimes you meet someone and you immediately know, and you're like, this is my person. I always say that a friend, a best friend or a close friend, whatever you want to title it, is someone where your heart feels like they're at home when you're with them. So anyone that you feel that way with, whether you've known them for a few weeks or you've known them for a lifetime, anyone that you feel that you can honestly, truly say that about is called a bestie. Next question is how to set boundaries. Okay, well, this is like the $1 million question, because I think that like as you grow and as you develop more relationships in your life, I honestly think that you truly will always be reevaluating how you set boundaries, relearning how you set boundaries. So I think that this is like an evergreen question, no matter what stage of a friendship you're in or a relationship. So I say the most important part about that is taking time for yourself, either write down or whatever way that you process how your ideal friendship would look like, right? Is it supportive? Is it someone who talks through every single problem with you? Is it someone who gives you a little space when you need it? You know, so I think that it's important to set those for yourself and then really come back and say, okay, well, for me, I think I need you to do these things. I guess it's a matter of, do you want to deal with this issue right now, maybe have an uncomfortable conversation, or do you want to prolong that conversation to where there's real damage done either to the friendship or your mental health, and then you still have to deal with the issue. So I think a lot of times it is hard because our friendships are places that feel safe and feel fun, but sometimes you do have to have tough conversations, and I think the best way to do that, especially when it comes to setting boundaries, is to be open, honest, and direct. Next question, how do you get closer to your friends? I think this is such a great question because a lot of times we look at other types of relationships as relationships you can work on, right? Like romantic relationships, you can work on them, you can get closer. You know, familiar relationships, if you want to get close to your mom or your dad or your sister or your brother, you can, you know, do that. But I think friendships are treated kind of like either you got it or you don't, and that's really not the case. I think, yeah, you can't click with someone immediately, or you get close to someone initially, but it's a really like surface level friendship. I think the most important part about getting closer to a friend is to be deliberate about it. I think a lot of times we think that like friendships are like magic, like they just happen and then you just kind of get closer and closer. But sometimes friendships take work, and that's okay if a friendship takes work. It's okay if it's not so easy. It just depends on whether or not it's worth the work, and that's gonna be something that you have to determine on your own. I think it's important that if you want vulnerability from someone else, that you reciprocate with vulnerability. So open up if you feel comfortable as well. So I'm assuming you do because you do want to get closer to someone, but I think that it's never too late to get closer to a friend. Even if you've known each other for like 10 years, there's always room for improvement. Next question, never had any friends before. As an adult, how do I learn to deal with others? I think that this is, first of all, totally okay if you don't have people that you really consider friends. I think a lot of times if we look into our lives, like really look into our lives and determine who our real friendships are, a lot more people than you think would be without friends either. Maybe they have people they know, but like true friendships are rare. So I want to just make sure that I'm putting that out there. So if you don't have any friends, I think the first thing to do is really just look around. Think about the people in your life who maybe you're acquaintances with, maybe you're coworkers with, in your classes, or people even that you know online that you think are really cool and you like their qualities, and really just like be straightforward and say, hey, you're really cool. Would love to get to know you. Do you think that we could maybe get coffee? And I think that like you have to make sure that you like want a friend, which sounds weird, but like some people just like say they do, but they really don't. A lot of times we're opening ourselves up for friendships that are really like one way. And by that I mean, you want someone else in your problems, you want someone to like be there for you in other ways, but like, are you really willing to do the work that it takes to do the same for someone else? And I think that's the most important part about friendships, is that you gotta be willing to do the work for them. Sometimes friendships, you got a low maintenance friend and they don't really expect a lot from you, which is cool. But then again, I think that like even the lowest of maintenance friendships, they need work too. You gotta be open, and you have to make sure that you're willing to be the friend that you want. I think that's super important, especially when it comes to making friendships that last. I mean, honestly, a lot of us could just go out and like talk to someone in an Uber and like become their friend. But in terms of lasting friendships, that's the key. And the way to do that is to work on yourself. Work on yourself, work on your relationships, they're all tied in. So whether it's reading a self-help book, or processing traumas in your past, or going to therapy. These are all ways to become your best self, because a lot of times we skip that step and we're like, why don't I have a bunch of besties running around? But really, you're not at a place where you can deeply address all the things that it takes to become a friend, because a lot of times friendships are those types of relationships where people really lean on you in times where it's tough, you know, they're having tough times. it's not all rainbows and butterflies. And I think while friendships are amazing places of joy and laughter and fun, you want to be the friend that's there for someone in the thick of it. And I'm not talking about sacrificing yourself and your blood, sweat, and tears for someone who doesn't care about you, but I'm talking about friends who really do. So that's a really important point. Next question, how do you cut off from a toxic friendship? Toxic friendships exist. They happen. If you're in a situation where you have a friend who is toxic, who brings out the worst in you, maybe you bring out the worst in them, it's okay to have a friendship breakup. Friendship breakups are scary and they're sad and they're a lot more dramatic than I think people sometimes maybe make them out to be in comparison to like romantic breakups. But I think it's okay to have one, to sit down with someone and say, hey, you know what, honestly, I think we bring out the worst in each other. We're not good for each other. I think, you're a great person. If you think they're a great person, it's okay if you don't. But I don't think that, we should really be hanging out as much or seeing each other as much as we were. Also, sorry for the light. It's like a cloudy day in LA, so the light is coming in and out and I look very orange, I feel like, so apologies about that. So next question says, high maintenance friendships, worth it? It's been 4 years of discomfort. High maintenance friendships. I have to say that I'm a very low maintenance friend, personally speaking, very low maintenance. And at this current time in my life, I have almost no high maintenance friends. And personally, that was by choice. First, you gotta make sure whether or not the friendship is high maintenance or toxic. I think that's like a very fine line sometimes of someone needing a lot from you in terms of like reassurance and kind of making you feel like codependent. That's a really big red flag. If you feel like maybe it's crossing over into the toxic realm, cut that off immediately. However, if you feel like the friendship really just is about communication, maybe they just have they need a lot of communication from you, I think that's maybe okay, but then again, it all depends on how it makes you feel. Some friends are your forever friends, right? Like there's someone who literally you could talk to them about everything. They could be there for you for everything, and you can have fun with them, you can watch movies with them, you can travel with them. Like they're a friend that checks off every box of like life with you basically. But those friends are rare, and also not every friend is that friend. Not every friend is your travel friend, right? Sometimes maybe people just like aren't good travelers. Does that also mean that they're not your talk through big life moments friend? No, they could be there for you in that way. So I think it's important to know that not everybody can be everything to you, right? Like it's okay if different people play different roles in your life. Like that's okay. Like let friendships be what they need to be for you. Don't put so much stress and pressure on your friendships or people, because that's not fair. Like they're only humans at the end of the day. But I don't think that's an excuse for someone just being a bad friend at the end of the day. Like just because they don't really do all those things with you and they're a bad friend, like that doesn't equate, if you know what I mean. So let friendships be what they need to be. Put value on friendships based on how they make you feel, and you're gonna be okay. I'm also getting a lot of questions about how to make friends, either when you're like out of college or in your 20s and 30s, or just how to make friends later in life when you move somewhere. Like I'm getting a lot of questions like that. And this is something that I personally had to go through because I moved to LA like in my later 20s. I didn't know anyone. Like I knew a few people here and there, but they weren't like super close friends, like, and they weren't people that I was like hanging out with every day. So while I did know people, like a handful of people, they weren't like my people, you know what I mean? So for somebody who's like me, who's very social, who like wants to kind of jump into the social scene immediately, I just want to say that like sometimes it's okay to like be alone for a bit rather than just like hanging out with a bunch of people who like don't make you feel really good. Because that's kind of what I was doing. I think I was like trying really hard to like find people to hang out with, or finding a group or like a crew or whatever, and like I wasn't really feeling the best about any of it, but I was like, rather this than feel alone. Honestly, sometimes it is better to just like be alone, not lonely, but just be alone with, you know, yourself and your thoughts and kind of just getting to know yourself rather than putting yourself in situations that really don't make you feel the best. I think that's step one. Take your time in finding true friendships. And they do kind of happen a little bit slower maybe, but I would say the way to do it is just to be as deliberate as possible and to be as like straightforward as possible. Seriously, sometimes we feel like we're a little bit, you know, embarrassed or shy to like ask someone on a friend date or like be like, hey, like you're really cool. Like, do you want to be friends? Like, channel your kindergarten self. You know, no inhibitions. You want to be my friend? Like, being as like open and straightforward. Obviously tailor your message to the person you're talking to, but it's okay to just be like, hey, like let's grab lunch. Okay, I've been talking forever, but I really hope that you liked this video and you got something out of it. I really want to hear more about what you all think. What friendships have you all had that made you feel amazing? What friendships have you had that like fell apart and you had to kind of pick up the pieces? Tell me all of that in the comments. I read all of my comments, so make sure that you let me know. Also, it would be a huge help if you all could subscribe to my channel, like, and make sure to turn on your post notifications. I'm trying really hard to grow my channel and I've appreciated all the support. And make sure that you check in with your friends, make sure to check in with your family, and make sure to take care of yourselves, guys. It's been a really crazy year and especially a really crazy week. When I'm filming this, we don't know who our president is of this country, but I think by the time I put this out, we will. So make sure to take care of yourself, stay safe, guys, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!